Okie dokie. So here we are with our MyFitnessPal tutorial. I'm going to go through how to add foods, how to use the barcode function, how to add recipes, and then basically like a couple of top tips in terms of what to track, what not to track, and basically how to make sure you hit your protein goal, because that's the most important thing and that's the thing that everyone struggles with the most. So once you've logged in, it will look a little bit like this. I have the premium version, so mine may look slightly different. But your diary will look, if you don't have the premium version, will look like that. So it's really easy to add foods. You just literally press add food. You can either type in the brands that you're using. So let's say that you're using Tesco. Let's use rice, because rice and pasta is always a good example. So you add rice. Now, you need to make sure that you're entering everything in uncooked weight, and you need to make sure that the entry itself is an uncooked weight. On MyFitnessPal, you will find sometimes with rice and pasta, mostly with pasta, that it has the cooked weight. So you want to be careful about that. The uncooked weight will always be more calories. So it will always be a small amount of servings for a larger amount of calories. So if you put 65 grams in and this was a cooked weight, it would be something like 70 calories, right? So another way of remembering it with rice and pasta is that you want to be making sure that the carbs are about 15 grams less than the actual raw weight that you're using. So, and it won't always be like, completely accurately 15% less, but around 15% less. So if you use, obviously 65 grams of rice, you want to make sure that the carbs says around 50 grams, and that's how you'll be able to tell if it's a cooked weight or a raw weight. So you can type in the brand, you can type in what it is. So let's take Tesco Fusilli. I know that this top one is an uncooked entry, and I know that this one is a cooked entry because you can see the difference in the calories. So you want to make sure it's the uncooked entry. And you go in. I personally like to change it to 1 gram because it's a bit more accurate. And then I'll just put in how many grams I've had and then press save. Do not use anything that's like 1 cup or inches. Like you will see with things like potato. If I type in Maris Piper potato, maybe it might not be potatoes that comes up with it. Maybe if I type in banana, let's say, it will come up with 1 medium, 1 piece, and then these like measurements. You want to find something that's in grams. So what I would probably do is scroll down. What's one with grams that looks kind of accurate? Oh yeah, that one there. So I'll literally go in, change it to grams. You have to weigh the banana, obviously weigh it peeled, and you put in how many grams it is, right? If it's got this little green tick to it, that means it's verified. That means it's more likely to be accurate. So that's how you enter things. You can also use the barcode function. Let me just find something with barcode. Here we go. Let's use my Biscoff spread. So you can also use the barcode function, which is that little scan barcode bit there. And then basically what it will do is you can scan it and it will come up with what it is. Sometimes it will come up with something random, okay? So you may need to find an alternative, something it will come up with something. Sometimes it will come up with something like pasta, and you're like, well, that's obviously not pasta. So it would just be a case of then going into the search function and typing in Belmont, because that's the brand, biscuit spread, and there it will come up with what it is. And then what you can always do is get the nutritional info on the label on the back of whatever it is that you're entering, whatever food it is, and just make sure that this entry is tallying up with what it says on the back of the food label. So that's how to add foods. There's a really good function called recipes. So if you go to this little more tab just down at the bottom here, and then you'll see my meals, recipes and foods, you can add all your own recipes. Now you can see I've got like my slow cooker goulash that I have all the time, and things like that. So if you, let's say you're going to get a recipe from the internet, you can actually copy and paste like a BBC food recipe. If I find like I'm pretty sure, here we go, look, I've got one here. Let's go with this one, and I'll show you. You just copy it, put it into the URL, and then import recipe. Now, what you need to do, and this is going to tie in really with what you need to track and what you don't need to track. You do not need to track onion, thyme, garlic, mushrooms, any vegetables, obviously, unless it's like a potato or like a root veg, like a parsnip or something that's got quite a lot of starch in. So what you can do is you can go through and take out all of the sort of like seasoning vegetable things. Take them all out. You don't need to track mustard. Don't need to track the kale. Obviously track the cornflour, but remove obviously what the directions are, because you know that's not going to pick up on the actual ingredients list when it searches for the ingredients. And I'd probably change that to something like whatever it says on the actual packet that you're using. And then I would take that away, the egg yolk, and I'd just do a whole egg because it's going to be easiest. So go through like that, and then yeah, it will come up with all of the items. Unless you're using like liquid chicken stock, don't worry about tracking stock cubes or anything like that. Now, what's come up here is a little bit weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to just add the brand that I use. So let's say Tesco Creme Fraiche, and I know that I need 100 grams of it. So that looks pretty accurate to me. So I'm just going to add save. And then I would just go through and double check it. So this here is saying a cup of egg, so that's not going to be accurate. So what you want to do is then just type in, I don't know, Tesco. I always use Tesco as a reference, by the way, because it's got like the biggest sort of library of items, basically. So 1 medium egg. There we go. And then just go through the rest of it. Again, this cornflour's not come up right, so a teaspoon is 5 grams, so I know I need I know I need 10 grams of it. So again, I'll just do 10. There we go. And then yeah, so basically just go through the rest of this. Again, I'm not so sure on that chicken breast one. So just to be safe, I'm going to go Tesco chicken breast. I can't remember how many grams it was. But again, let's do 500 grams. And again, make sure it's all in grams rather than one breast, because one breast could weigh anything from 100 grams to, 300 grams really. So always make sure it's not a volume measurement. Always needs to be in grams as much as possible. So that's basically it. You put how many servings it is, and then you just press save, and then it's really easy to log it. You just go in and press add to diary. I really like that function. I think that's quite good. The meals function is pretty good, but to be honest, if you're going to do meals, like, you may as well just do recipes. It's the same sort of thing, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you're going to do HelloFresh, one thing you can do is either search for whatever the meal is, and then let's say, I don't know, garden quesadillas, and do it like that, and then you can add it like that. HelloFresh has got pretty much all of the items in there. Another thing you can do is quick add. So on the HelloFresh like recipe cards, it tells you the calories and stuff like that. So you can literally just type in the calories, how many grams of fat it is, how many grams of carbohydrate it is, and then how many grams of protein it is, and then you can just do a quick add like that. And what it will actually do is it will work out the calories for you, although this is a premium feature, so if you don't have premium, you won't be able to do this. You will just be able to do the calorie side of things. So I, again, probably, unless you've got the premium feature, probably wouldn't use that. So yeah. I'm not sure actually now if the barcode function is also a premium thing. If it is, because I know they were going to change it, if it is, then you're just going to have to search and basically tally it up to whatever the nutrition information is on the packet. So that's that. So in terms of tracking, as I mentioned, you don't need to track veg. You don't need to track instant coffee. You don't need to track diet drinks or like diet sodas or squash or anything like that. But track everything else. If you have like a splash of milk in your tea and you drink a lot of tea, whether you drink a lot of tea or not, don't worry about tracking a splash of milk. Like, that's when it's getting a little bit nitpicky. And I think the more nitpicky you get, the more detrimental it's actually going to be, to your mindset when you're actually tracking your food. So basically, track everything. Don't track veg. I track like high calorie sources. Don't worry about tracking like low calorie sources. Track your salad dressings, all your fruit. Make sure you're tracking all your fruit, because fruit and veg have very different calorie contents. Veg is very low calorie. Fruit is generally a little bit higher calorie, which is fine. But you just obviously want to make sure that you're tracking. You can't treat fruit and veg as the same sort of entity. So that's pretty much it. It is reasonably self-explanatory. It's when you start encountering problems that you may need to like reach out for a bit of help in order to iron out like an issue, that kind of thing. Alcohol's a funny one as well. If you track alcohol, what you need to make sure is that it's got a carb amount on it here. If it's like 0.000, basically it's not going to take away from your overall macro total. It's just going to take away from your calorie total, which means you may end up eating more food than you need to. So what you want to do is basically find something that's got like a decent amount of carbs in it, and it's really difficult to find. Find entries like that. Okay, here's a good one. So if you're having a glass of wine, you're going to need to weigh it out like you would with everything else. 250 mils, put it in like that. Alcohol, I would say on the whole, is not super accurate. So just be mindful about tracking it. I generally would say if you're going to track it, just focus on the calories. I know I often say, sorry, mind the dog. I will often say that basically the calories won't always tally up to your macro goals, which I'll go over in a second. But if you are going to track alcohol, just be mindful of your calories, because it's going to adjust your calories, but it's not going to adjust your macro targets. So if you don't have the premium version, what you will want to do is check back, go to this little nutrients tab here, and you will basically want to make sure that your total is as close to your goal for protein, carbs, and fats. Don't worry about the rest of them. Oh, that's fiber. Protein, carbs, and fats. As I said, don't worry about fiber, sugar, all of these things, but you want to make sure that this number and this number are as close as possible. Now, the easiest way of doing that is to track the food before you've eaten it, and I cannot stress this enough. Tracking your food a day in advance or like the night before is vital, because it's just going to mean that you can hit your macronutrient targets and therefore your calories, and you're not going to be left with loads of protein left over or loads of fat or loads of carbs left over. And obviously you can change any of the portion sizes like once you've tracked it to make everything fit before you've actually eaten the food. Obviously you can't change what you've tracked after you've eaten it because you've already eaten it. So here's how I would do it, and this is it. I know it may take you guys a little bit longer than me, but I like the more you do it, the quicker you'll get with it. So I would always track your protein sources first. And now a good way of making sure that you hit your protein is by dividing your total, your goal, by however many meals you're going to have that day. So let's say you're going to have 4 meals. So you want to be aiming for around 30 grams of protein per meal. So what I would do is I would track my protein first. So I know tomorrow I'm going to have oats. So I'm going to have 30 grams of protein powder. And then for lunch tomorrow, what have I got in the fridge? Oh, I've got some pork mince. And I'm going to have that. And then tomorrow for dinner, I'm just looking at my thingy, I've got prawn pasta. So dinner, I'm going to have my whole pack of prawns. And then snacks, I'm going to have some Greek yogurt at some point. So what have I got? I think I've got the 2% stuff. So I'm going to have 200 grams of that. So what I would then do is have a look at my nutrients. So I'm at about 100 grams of protein just by doing that. Now, I'm not going to go in and change my protein just yet because I'm going to add my carbs and my fat sources, and carbs and fats, some of them will carry trace amounts of protein, which may just take me up that extra 30 grams. So if I put the rest of my breakfast in, so let's say I'm going to have oats, I'm going to have 40 grams of oats. I normally have 40 grams of oats. I know I'm also going to have some dark chocolate, and I'm going to have, I know that the bar I've got is 25 grams, and then I'm going to have berries, and I always have the same amount of berries. So that's my oats done for tomorrow. For lunch, I'm going to have rice with my pork. So I'm going to have 50 grams of rice, and then I also know I'm going to have some sesame oil with it, because that's what I normally make it with. So I'm going to have 10 grams of sesame oil. And then dinner, I know I'm having tagliatelle, so let's just keep that in there, and I can always go back and change it. I know I'll also have some parmesan with it. I'm probably only going to have about 10 grams of parmesan. And that's all in to track, because everything else I'm going to put in there is tomatoes. Oh no, I'll probably cook with a bit of olive oil as well. So let's say I'm going to have 10 grams of olive oil. Now, as I said, I know this is a lot quicker for me because, you know, I know what I generally cook with. But obviously, if you've already meal prepped, it'll be quite easy for you to put. I would always put your meal prep in first because you've already made that, and then you can make the rest of your day fit around it. And then with my Greek yogurt, I'm just going to have some golden syrup because that's my current favourite snack. So obviously, I haven't eaten any of this yet. And I've still got quite a few calories left. So if I have a little look, you'll see I'm pretty much almost at my goal now, and that was just by adding my carbs and fat sources. I've got quite a lot of carbs left, but fats I can't really add any more. So I know that in order to get my protein goal up, I'm going to have to add something that's pure protein. So the easiest way of doing that is basically looking at my protein sources that I've already added. And you know, I can easily just have a slightly bit more protein powder. So I'm just going to add another 10 grams. I also had a lot more carbs. So rice and pasta, obviously the easiest options there. So I'm going to go 80 grams of rice, and then I'm going to see what 80 grams of pasta takes me up to as well. I haven't touched any fat sources because just by doing that, I'm pretty much at my fats. So now I can see that I'm over my protein and I'm over on my carbs. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and reduce my protein powder, because I know that's pure protein, back down to 30, because what's actually happened is increasing my carbs. I've got extra protein from the trace proteins in my rice and my pasta. Now I'm only over my carbs by about 7 grams. So all I'm going to do is just take 5 grams off my pasta, off my rice, see what that takes me to. Okay, still 4 grams over. I'm going to take 5 grams off my pasta. What's that got me to? Pretty much bang on. 1 gram under on protein, I'll take that. I will leave that. There's literally no point in, doing like 31 grams of protein powder just to get that. But carbs are bang on, fats are bang on. So that's the easiest way, basically. I've now planned my food for tomorrow. I don't need to worry about it. I know what I need to make for breakfast. I know what I need to make for lunch, and I know what quantities I need to make for dinner. So now, when I go back in tomorrow to my MyFitnessPal to see what I'm having for these meals, I've got the quantities that I need there. Equally, if I was going to meal prep these for tomorrow, again, I've got my quantities there, so I can just go in and, meal prep these for tomorrow. So that's the easiest way to track. Now, what I meant by calories and macros not necessarily adding up, I am only 1 gram under on protein. So 1 gram of protein is about 4 calories. So what this should say is it should say that I have 4 calories remaining, not 12. Now, the reason that is because all of this data on MyFitnessPal is user generated. So people will put the right macros in generally, but they'll change the calories, or they'll, accidentally put the wrong amount of calories in, as a typo. So I generally would say, unless you've tracked alcohol, you need to take account of what the calories are saying. Don't worry too much if that says you're over or under. If it says you're hundreds over, like 200, 300, it's generally because an entry that you've used, can you see they all have something in the macros, depending on, what the food is, obviously cheeses, protein and fats, but no carbs. If you have an entry, if you're like hundreds of calories over, but it says that your macros are all pretty much spot on, it basically means that one of these entries that you've picked will say 0 on all of these. So that's what you want to look out for. Like, the only thing really that will have 0 on all of these is water. So there should always be something in each of these. So yeah, obviously if you have the premium version, what you can do is switch to macronutrients focused, and it will basically put how close you are to your goals here. So that's like really the main benefit of tracking with the premium version. You don't have to constantly chop and change between this and your actual main diary. You can just see it all displayed up there. It will also tell you how many macros are in each meal. So I said I wanted to aim for about 30 grams of protein per meal. I mean, I'm over, but I've got 30 grams for my breakfast, and about 45 grams for dinner, 30 grams for dinner, 45 grams for lunch, 30 grams for dinner, and then 20 grams as my snack, basically. So that's the easiest way of tracking. And as I said, track in advance, track your protein first. And then obviously, let's say I was like vastly under my protein, it would just be a case of then going through, because you've tracked your protein sources first, which ones you need to change. So you can go in and obviously have a little play around. It is trial and error. It is like tweaking a couple of little bits. But the meals I would always tweak are snacks, or, meals when you're maybe not as hungry. So, traditionally dinner, you might not be as hungry because, you've already had like 2 or 3 meals that day. So that's basically how I would work it. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you. But yeah, you can see I've not tracked any of my veg. I've just tracked my protein, my carbs, my fats, and my fruit. So that's pretty much it. I would never bother tracking your exercise, because what it will do is give you more calories and you end up eating more than you need. In order to set your targets, so your targets will all be on your nutrition guide. All you need to do is press more, then go to goals, and then customize carb, fat and protein goals. Now, if you don't have the premium version, yours will look like this. So what you will end up doing is typing in your calories, and then you'll have to play around here to try and get these little numbers as close to your protein target as possible. So it might be something like that. Obviously, if you've got the premium version, you can play around and just do it like that. And obviously it will come up with the calories here. So basically, all of these macronutrients, fats, protein, carbs, these are all macronutrients. They all carry different calories per gram. So carbs and proteins both carry 4 calories per gram. I'll show you. And fats carry 9. So you can see there, 9 calories, 4 calories, and 4 calories, basically. So that's all I'm going to show you for now. In terms of tracking, like the basics, how to set things up, how to track. I think anything else that comes up, obviously just drop me a message and we can go over that specific issue. But that's the basics of it, and that is obviously a much shorter version of the MyFitnessPal tutorial. But if anyone has any questions, please let me know. If there's anything else that you think I should cover, or anything else that you might find helpful for me to cover, just let me know and I can certainly do that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed.